Have you ever trusted someone completely only to discover they were plotting your downfall? Sometimes the people closest to us hide the darkest intentions, and sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places, from someone who has every reason to stay silent but chooses to speak up anyway. This is a story about betrayal, instinct, and the stranger who risks everything to save a life. Kennedy Matthews had been working at Azure, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants, for 3 years. At 28, she'd mastered the art of being invisible, serving the wealthy elite while they discussed business deals, affairs, and secrets as if she weren't even there. That Thursday evening started like any other. The dining room glittered with crystal and candlelight, filled with the city's power players. Kennedy moved efficiently between tables, her professional smile never faltering, even when customers were rude or dismissive. Table 12 was occupied by a striking couple. The man was Korean, probably in his late 30s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that Kennedy's trained eye recognized as custom-made and extremely expensive. His companion was a beautiful blonde woman, elegant, poised, dripping with jewelry that caught the light with every movement. Kennedy had served them before, Mr. Park and his fiancée, Elena. They came to Azure once a month, always ordering the same premium dishes, always polite but distant. Kennedy knew better than to be overly familiar with regulars. Some appreciated friendliness, others found it presumptuous. As Kennedy served their appetizers, she noticed three men at the bar. They'd arrived separately but kept glancing toward table 12 with an intensity that made Kennedy's instincts prickle. She'd grown up in rough neighborhoods, developed a sixth sense for danger, and something about these men screamed trouble. One of them, a heavy-set man with a scar across his cheek, kept checking his watch, nodding almost imperceptibly toward the restrooms. The second man, lean and nervous, had positioned himself near the kitchen entrance. The third lingered by the front door. They were positioning themselves, surrounding something, or someone. Kennedy's eyes drifted back to table 12. Mr. Park was laughing at something Elena said, completely relaxed, unaware. But Kennedy noticed something odd. Elena kept glancing at her diamond watch, her smile tight, her posture too rigid despite her casual demeanor. Then Kennedy saw it. Elena made eye contact with the scarred man at the bar. Just a brief moment, but it was there. Recognition, acknowledgement, coordination. Kennedy's blood ran cold. She'd seen this kind of setup before, growing up in neighborhoods where violence was a business transaction. These men were waiting for something, and Elena was part of it. Kennedy delivered the main courses, her mind racing. Should she say something? Call the police? But what would she say? That she had a bad feeling. That three men were sitting in a restaurant, that a woman looked at someone. She had no proof, just instinct, but that instinct was screaming that Mr. Park was in danger. As Kennedy refilled their water glasses, she made a decision. With her body blocking Elena's view, Kennedy quickly scribbled on her order pad, tore off the page, and slipped it under Mr. Park's bread plate. The note read, "They're after you. Three men, bar, kitchen door, front entrance. Your fiancé knows. Leave now. Back exit through kitchen." Mr. Park's hand brushed the note as he reached for bread. Kennedy saw his eyes flick down, his expression unchanged, but his body went very still. He read it quickly, subtly, then his gaze lifted to meet Kennedy's for just a second. She gave the tiniest nod, then walked away, her heart pounding. Whatever happened next, she'd done what she could. The rest was up to him. Daehan Park had survived 38 years in one of Korea's most dangerous criminal organizations by trusting his instincts. And right now, his instincts were telling him that the young black waitress had just saved his life. He glanced at the note again, memorizing its contents before casually folding it into his napkin. Three men, positioned strategically. Elena knows. Elena knows. That revelation hit him harder than the threat itself. He looked at his fiancée, the woman he'd planned to marry in 3 months, the woman he'd trusted with details about his business, his schedule, his vulnerabilities. "Are you all right?" Elena asked, her voice sweet with concern. "You look tense. Just thinking about the merger." Daehan lied smoothly. "Excuse me, I need to make a quick call." He stood, and Elena's hand shot out to grab his wrist. "Can't it wait? Our food just arrived." "It's urgent." Daehan gently removed her hand. "I'll just be a moment." As he walked toward the restrooms, he scanned the room using the mirrors, and reflective surfaces. The waitress was right. 3 men, positioned exactly where she'd indicated, and now that he was looking, he saw the bulges under their jackets, weapons poorly concealed. Instead of entering the restroom, Daehan veered toward the kitchen. The waitress appeared beside him as if by magic. "Follow me," she whispered. "Kitchen exit leads to an alley. There's usually a delivery truck blocking the view from the street." "Why are you helping me?" Daehan asked as they moved quickly through the bustling kitchen, chefs too busy to question them. "Because I know what those men are planning," Kennedy said simply, "and because nobody deserves to die eating overpriced pasta." Despite everything, Daehan almost smiled. They reached the back door, and Kennedy pushed it open. The alley was dark, lit only by a single street light. A delivery truck sat idling, exactly as she'd promised. "Go left, then left again at the corner," Kennedy instructed. "There's a subway entrance 2 blocks away. Lose yourself in the crowd." Daehan turned to thank her, but shouts erupted from inside the restaurant. They'd been discovered. "Go," Kennedy pushed him toward the alley. Now, Daehan ran, his expensive shoes pounding against wet pavement. Behind him, he heard the kitchen door bang open, angry voices, the unmistakable sound of someone giving chase. But he was already turning the corner, already disappearing into the Manhattan night, alive because a stranger had chosen to act on instinct rather than stay silent. Kennedy returned to the dining room, trying to appear calm, but her hands were shaking. Elena still sat at table 12, now on her phone, her expression furious. "Where's your colleague?" Elena demanded when Kennedy approached. "The server who was just here." "I don't know what you mean, ma'am," Kennedy said politely. "Is there something I can help you with?" "My fiancé, where did he go?" "I believe he stepped out to make a phone call, ma'am. Would you like me to?" Elena stood abruptly, throwing her napkin on the table. "This is unacceptable. Get your manager, now." Kennedy's manager, Richard, hurried over. "Is there a problem? Your staff is incompetent," Elena hissed. "My fiancé disappeared, and no one can tell me where he went." The 3 men from the bar were now standing, looking equally agitated. One of them, the scarred man, made brief eye contact with Elena before heading toward the door. "I'm terribly sorry," Richard said smoothly. "I'm sure Mr. Park will return shortly. Perhaps nothing," Elena snapped. She grabbed her purse and coat. "This restaurant is a disgrace. You'll be hearing from me." She swept out, the 3 men following at a discreet distance. Richard turned to Kennedy, his expression troubled. "What just happened?" "I have no idea, sir," Kennedy lied. After her shift ended at midnight, Kennedy walked to the subway, her mind replaying everything. Had she done the right thing? Who was Mr. Park, really? Why did those men want to hurt him? She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice the black Mercedes following her until it pulled up alongside as she walked. The window rolled down, and Daehan Park looked out at her. "Get in," he said. "We need to talk." Kennedy's first instinct was to run, but something in his expression, exhaustion, gratitude, concern, made her pause. "I'm not going to hurt you," Daehan said quietly. "I want to thank you for saving my life, but you need to understand what you've gotten yourself into." Against her better judgment, Kennedy got into the car. The car drove to an upscale hotel in Midtown. Daehan led Kennedy to a suite, where 2 other Korean men waited. Bodyguards, Kennedy realized, noting their alert postures and the way their jackets draped over concealed weapons. "It's safe," Daehan told them in Korean. "She's the one who warned me." He gestured for Kennedy to sit, then poured 2 glasses of water. Kennedy noticed his hands were steady, controlled, despite the night's chaos. "First, thank you," Daehan said. "You saved my life tonight. You had no reason to help me, every reason to stay out of it, but you acted anyway." "Why?" Kennedy met his eyes. "Because I saw what was about to happen, and I couldn't just stand there and let it. That's not who I am. Most people would have looked away." "I'm not most people." Daehan studied her. "No, you're not, which is why I need you to understand what you've done. Those men you saw, they weren't random criminals. They were hired by the Chong organization. My fiancée, Elena, apparently made a deal with my enemies to have me killed. Why would she do that? Money, power, revenge." Daehan's voice was bitter. My organization has been at war with the Chong clan for 5 years. Elena's brother died in that conflict. I didn't know she blamed me. I didn't know she'd spent the past year planning to get close to me, gain my trust, then deliver me to my enemies. Kennedy felt sick. She was going to let them kill you in the restaurant. In the parking garage, actually. The 3 men were supposed to follow me out after dinner, but your warning changed everything. Daehan leaned forward. Kennedy, it is Kennedy, yes, the name on your uniform. She nodded. Kennedy, by helping me, you've made yourself visible to dangerous people. Elena will figure out that someone warned me. The restaurant has security cameras. They'll identify you. Fear shot through Kennedy's chest. What does that mean? It means you're in danger. The Chong clan doesn't leave loose ends. If they think you can identify them, if they think you're connected to me, they'll come after you. So what am I supposed to do? Kennedy's voice rose. I was just trying to help. I know, which is why I'm going to protect you. Daehan pulled out a business card. This is my private number. You'll have security watching you. You won't see them, but they'll be there. If anything seems wrong, anything at all, you call that number immediately. I don't want to be involved in whatever this is, Kennedy said. I don't want bodyguards, or danger, or too late. Daehan interrupted gently. You're already involved. The moment you slipped me that note, you chose a side. Now I need to make sure you survive that choice. 3 days later, Kennedy was walking home from her shift when she noticed the car following her. It was subtle, different vehicles, but always one behind her, maintaining distance. She pulled out her phone and dialed the number Daehan had given her. He answered immediately. Someone's following me, she said, her voice tight with fear. I know, it's my security, but stay on the phone anyway. Where are you? 2 blocks from my apartment, corner of 10th, and Kennedy never finished the sentence. A van pulled up beside her, the side door sliding open. 2 men jumped out, grabbing her arms. She screamed, fighting back, but they were stronger. One of them produced a cloth that smelled sickly sweet, chloroform. Her mind registered in panic. Then gunshots split the night. The men dropped her, returning fire at unseen attackers. Kennedy stumbled, disoriented, and felt strong hands grab her again, but these were different, pulling her away from the van, toward safety. Run, a voice shouted in accented English. This way. More gunshots, screaming, sirens in the distance. Kennedy found herself being pushed into a black SUV. The door slammed, and the vehicle accelerated away from the chaos. She looked up to see one of the Korean men from the hotel, Daehan's bodyguard. You safe now, he said in broken English. They no get you. Kennedy's entire body was shaking. What just happened? Chong clan tried to take you, use you to get to boss. But we watch, like boss say, we protect. They drove to a different hotel, where Daehan was waiting. The moment Kennedy saw him, she broke down, the adrenaline and fear finally overwhelming her control. I'm sorry, Daehan said quietly. I'm so sorry you're in this situation. Why? Kennedy demanded through her tears. Why do they want me? Because you can testify about what happened that night. Because they think I might have told you sensitive information. Because in their world, anyone connected to an enemy is a threat to be eliminated. He sat across from her. I won't let them hurt you, Kennedy, but you can't go home. You can't go back to your normal life until this is resolved. How long will that take? I don't know, Daehan admitted, but I'm going to end this. Elena and the Chong clan made a mistake when they came after me. Now I'm going after them. 2 weeks later, Kennedy sat in a safe house outside the city, watching news reports on her phone. The headlines were shocking. Major organized crime bust. Dozen arrested in multi-agency operation. Korean gang war ends with unprecedented cooperation with law enforcement. Woman arrested in murder for hire. Plot against fiancé. Elena's face appeared on the screen, being led away in handcuffs. The 3 men from the restaurant were also shown, along with several other members of the Chong organization. Daehan had done it. Somehow, he'd turned the situation around, using Elena's betrayal as leverage to broker a deal with federal authorities. In exchange for information about the Chong clan's operations, he'd received immunity and protection. The war was over, and Kennedy's testimony about what she'd witnessed at the restaurant had been crucial in securing convictions. A knock at the door made Kennedy jump, but it was just Daehan, accompanied by a federal agent. It's safe, he said. You can go home. Kennedy stood, relief flooding through her. It's really over. It's really over. The Chong leadership is in custody. Elena is facing life in prison. And you, Daehan, pulled out an envelope. This is for you. Compensation for the danger I put you in, and the life you saved. Kennedy opened it and gasped. A check for $500,000. I can't accept this, she said automatically. You can, and you will. Daehan insisted. You saved my life, Kennedy. You risked everything, because you saw someone in danger, and chose to act. That kind of courage deserves to be rewarded. What will you do now? Kennedy asked. Leave, start over somewhere new, away from all of this. The authorities have agreed to let me relocate in exchange for my continued cooperation. He smiled slightly. Maybe I'll open a restaurant, a real one, where the only drama is whether the fish is fresh. Kennedy laughed despite everything. What about you? Daehan asked. What will you do? Kennedy thought about the check in her hand. Enough money to change her life, pay off student loans, maybe finally go back to school like she'd always wanted. I'm going to stop being invisible, she said. I spent years making myself small, trying not to be noticed. But that night, at the restaurant, I realized that staying silent isn't always the safest option. Sometimes you have to speak up, even when it's scary. Daehan nodded approvingly. That's wisdom hard-earned. Use it well. 6 months later, Kennedy was enrolled in college, studying criminal justice. The experience with Daehan had changed her perspective. She'd seen how organized crime worked, how people could be betrayed by those closest to them, and how sometimes justice required courage from unexpected places. She'd also learned that one small act, a note slipped under a plate, could change everything. It could save a life, expose a conspiracy, and set in motion events that brought down an entire criminal organization. Sometimes she wondered about Daehan, wherever he was now. She hoped he'd found peace, a life away from violence and betrayal. And sometimes, when she was serving tables at her part-time job to pay for books the scholarship didn't cover, she remembered that night. The instinct that told her something was wrong, the choice to act instead of look away. She'd saved a life that night, but in some ways, she'd also saved her own, proved to herself that she was brave, capable, willing to stand up, even when it was dangerous. That was worth more than any amount of money. We walk past opportunities to do the right thing every single day. We see suspicious situations and tell ourselves it's none of our business. We notice someone in trouble and assume someone else will help. We stay silent because speaking up is risky, uncomfortable, potentially dangerous. But Kennedy's story reminds us that silence has consequences too. If she'd looked away, Daehan would be dead. If she'd told herself it wasn't her problem, an innocent man would have been murdered by the person who claimed to love him. One note, that's all it took to change everything. One moment of choosing courage over comfort. One decision to trust her instincts and act on them. How many times have your instincts told you something was wrong? How many times have you seen something suspicious and talked yourself out of acting? How many opportunities to help have you walked past because it seemed easier to stay uninvolved? Kennedy had everything to lose, her job, her safety, her life. She was just a waitress, invisible to most of the wealthy customers she served. She had no power, no connections, no reason to think anyone would listen to her. But she acted anyway, not because she was guaranteed success, but because she couldn't live with herself if she did nothing. That's the definition of courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. So the next time your instincts tell you something's wrong, listen. The next time you see someone in danger, act. The next time you have the opportunity to speak up, even when it's risky, take it. You might save a life. You might expose the truth. You might discover a strength you didn't know you had. Because heroes aren't just people with power and resources. Sometimes they're waitresses with sharp instincts and brave hearts. Sometimes they're ordinary people who make extraordinary choices. Sometimes they're you, if you're willing to step forward when the moment demands it.